Assalamu alaikum. Your Highnesses, Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen. On behalf of His Highness Sheikh Mohammed bin Zayed Al Nahyan, Crown Prince of Abuظbي and Deputy Supreme Commander of the UAE Armed Forces, I am honored to welcome you all to the third Abuظbي Media Summit. This Friday, it will be exactly 4 years since the government of Abuظbي announced an ambitious initiative to accelerate the development of a thriving media sector here in the United Arab Emirates. That initiative was named 2454, inspired by our geographic coordinates. Speaking at its launch 4 years ago, we outlined our ambitions to generate new education and career opportunities in the creative industries, to contribute to a thriving media sector in the United Arab Emirates and across the region, and to produce a generation of media consumers with greater access to content from this part of the world. The strategy was very simple. First, establish a new home for the media industry here in Abuظbي. Second, invite the world's leading media organizations to become the anchor companies of this creative hub. And third, set new standards in the production of Arabic media through the provision of world-class facilities and the delivery of education and training on their application. And finally, offer financial support and technical advice to young people and entrepreneurs seeking to pursue a career or develop a business in this emerging industry. We have made significant progress in the last 4 years. Today, more than 180 local, regional, and international companies are operating out of 2454 and contributing to the establishment of a dynamic media sector in the United Arab Emirates. This has already led to the creation of more than 3,000 new jobs and countless more education and training opportunities for a generation of young UAE nationals. The success of 2454 has been mirrored by developments elsewhere, from investments in the new and traditional media by the Abuظbي Media Company, to initiatives such as Sky News Arabia, and the rapid growth in the number of UAE nationals pursuing a career in the creative industries. The local and regional momentum of the media industry is clear to see, and it is one of the main reasons why, at this year's Abuظbي Media Summit, more than 55% of the delegates are joining us from around the region. Appropriately, this year's summit includes an increased focus on the role of young professionals and entrepreneurs. It will ultimately rest with the many students and young professionals participating in this week's summit to drive the ongoing evolution of the media sector in both the United Arab Emirates and across the region, and hopefully globally as well. The summit is always a place of vibrant discussion. Each year it brings together global leaders in media and technology to exchange ideas about the key trends shaping the world and the ways in which people are communicating about them. Our theme for this year's summit, redefining the digital frontier, carries on that tradition. It is my sincere hope that over the next 2 days, the summit proves to be an invaluable forum for the analysis of trends, the sharing of insights, and the identification of opportunities for all of the attendees and their organizations. I would like to thank all of you for your participation. We are once again privileged to welcome another group of highly regarded speakers, including Ari Emanuel later this afternoon, and tomorrow, Her Royal Highness Princess Reem of Jordan. It is also my honor to introduce today our first keynote speaker, a true visionary in technology, business, and philanthropy. I could think of nobody better to open a discussion on the digital frontier than Bill Gates. Throughout his career in business, Bill Gates has demonstrated a rare ability to harness the potential of technology and to shape its development for the benefit of countless people around the world. As a dedicated philanthropist since the early 1990s, and most recently through the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, he has further strengthened his reputation as an innovator, consistently finding new ways to address some of the world's greatest challenges. To give you one example, close to our hearts, in January 2011, the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation partnered with His Highness Sheikh Mohammed bin Zayed Al Nahyan, the Crown Prince of Abuظbi, to make a combined donation of $100 million for the purchase and delivery of life-saving vaccines to children in Afghanistan and Pakistan. It has been estimated that this historic donation will help to protect more than 35 million children from preventable diseases in these two countries, having a positive social and economic impact on an entire generation. It is this kind of long-term, visionary thinking that continues to make our next speaker somebody we can all learn a lot from. So, to share his insights on the next road ahead, please welcome Bill Gates.
Thank you. Great. Well, good afternoon. It's great to be here and to be a part of this conference. This is a very exciting part of the world. I always enjoy coming here and seeing the new developments. I first began coming here when I worked full-time at Microsoft. At that time, I was talking about software and the vision of software, and I got to see how people were taking advantage of that. But in the last 4 years, since I've been devoting most of my time to philanthropy, I've been able to visit more often, forming deeper friendships and a stronger understanding of the region. And I see positive change accelerating every time I come. I've been especially impressed with the young leaders I've met here. They're gifted, they're well-trained, but they're also humble. They care about the region, but they think about the entire world. They're shaping the future, and in some ways, they're already living there. But they have an abiding respect for the past as well. One of the things that makes this region so special is the way that tradition and change exist side by side. You combine rising prosperity and a commitment to education with a deep custom of charity in keeping with the teachings of Islam. I want to talk to you today about how these unique characteristics of the Gulf region, along with rising technology, strategic philanthropy, and new media, give you a key role in the fight against poverty and disease, with a special impact on the Muslim world. It's an exciting time to be working on humanitarian goals, whether in health or agriculture or education, or other efforts to lift the lives of the poor. Good news is sometimes hard to see these days because it's often obscured by bad news. Good news comes a little bit at a time, a day at a time. But there is an accumulation of good news in the world, and it's spreading. It's significant and far-reaching. The world is actually a better place to live in than it ever has been, in terms of living standards, economic freedom, education, better health, and longer life. One of my favorite statistics that really tracks human progress is the number of children under the age of 5 that die each year. This is really a measure of how well we're able to take care of our children. Back in 1960, over 20 million children died under the age of 5 every year. And nothing is more tragic than that. I don't care what religion, what region, what background you have. Parents love their children and want them to grow to an adulthood. Well, that number by 5 years ago was down to 12 million a year, and now it's down to 7 million a year. So it's a dramatic reduction. In fact, over the 50-year period, even as the number of children under the age of 5 doubled, we cut that death rate in 2/3. So this is an incredible accomplishment. In fact, it's one of these things you really want to look into and understand what we did right and accelerate that change. It's a proof of what can happen where we take innovation and share it widely, including with the poorest in the world. And this is the basic theme of why my wife Melinda and I started our foundation. We had both seen the power of innovation, the magic of software, the magic of the microprocessor, optic fiber, all the great things that created the personal computer and the internet revolution. And we saw that the market created those innovations for those who could pay for it. But we also saw that innovation could be done on behalf of the poor, but that might not happen. In fact, that could be a cause that we could devote ourselves to. So our giving has a theme based on the belief that all lives have equal value. We believe that innovation should be for everyone. But we saw that in poor countries, millions were dying of diseases that were not present in rich countries. We knew that just by taking vaccines, we could eliminate a lot of these deaths, and we knew that by helping new vaccines to be invented, we could prevent most of these deaths. And that's what triggered our large investment in new science as a central part of our philanthropy. And over time, we've increased that commitment. We talk about the first 10 years of this century as the decade of vaccines. There are many important innovations, things like new seeds, mobile phones, digital money, but perhaps the most important of all in terms of saving lives are vaccines. Our foundation is pledged to spend $10 billion this decade into the research and development of vaccines to the poorest. And this will take the number of deaths down even dramatically below the 7 million that we have today. Of course, this is not something we can do alone. We don't have enough resources, even though we're a large foundation. We don't have all the knowledge. We need knowledge from scientists and universities around the world. We need knowledge from field workers who understand how you reach out to a poor family in northern Nigeria or in Yemen. And so we need partners who have access and understand different regions of the world, partners who have additional resources and understanding. And so a key theme of our work is partnership. In fact, a key reason for my visit to this region, not only this time, but every time I've come here, is to build these partnerships. It's a chance to build, to fight for humanitarian achievement. I want to highlight one quest in particular, and this is the one I'm spending most of my time on now because we see a very exciting achievement in this. And this is to talk about polio. Polio is a disease that was crippling over 300,000 children every year. And this was a terrible thing. And in 1988, the world decided to eradicate polio. Before that, only one disease had been eradicated. Smallpox was completed in 1979. And so the goal was to make this the second eradication ever. Well, we're most of the way there. Polio cases have dropped over 99%. And so we only have a few thousand cases a year. We've gone from 125 countries down now to 3 countries where we've never stopped polio. So we can see the finish line. But the last few years have shown us how tough that final 1% is. I mean, after all, the last 3 countries that you have polio in are, by definition, the most difficult countries. And so we still have polio in the south of Afghanistan, in Pakistan, and in the north of Nigeria. To win this fight is actually pretty straightforward. We simply have to reach 90% of the children with the polio vaccine. And you've probably seen it. It's just a few drops of liquid you put into a mouth of a child. You do it when they reach a certain age. You do it when you campaign and try and get to all the children. And if we're able to vaccinate a child 3 or more times with that vaccine, then they are protected. Not only are they protected, but they don't actually spread the disease. And so it goes away. I've had a chance to vaccinate many kids. I've had a chance to meet with mothers. I've had a chance to ask them why they think some people refuse the vaccine. And one of them said to me, "We need permission from our husbands. We also need our imams to talk about vaccination and explain that it's a good thing and give us permission to be involved." Of course, many imams have been strong advocates for vaccination. After all, everyone making Hajj each year has to be vaccinated against multiple diseases, including polio. And this shows how important it is to have the support of the world community, to have everyone help us reach the children and have the mothers and fathers know this is a very good thing. And so to achieve completion in Afghanistan, Pakistan, and Nigeria, we need their neighbors, the people who care about them, including their fellow Muslims, to join in. And so this is everyone's cause. If we don't finish, if we relax and stop the spending, then the disease spreads back, and it would be a terrible defeat with tens and thousands being paralyzed again. If we succeed, we can leave behind in these countries highly functioning health systems that will literally save millions of lives from other diseases. Now, some might say, well, wait a minute, your cost per child helped here is very, very high. And that's absolutely right. When you get to the end of an eradication, the cost per case avoided is astronomical. But what it does is it prevents all the cases for the rest of time. We in 2011, we succeeded in India. People thought that would be the toughest country, and actually the last case was January 2011. But unless we get rid of it in the other countries, it could spread back. And so India is spending lots of money, lots of energy that could go into other things, keeping that polio vaccination rate up very high. So when we finish the job, there are immense savings going forward, literally tens of billions over time that we save because those children don't get sick, and we don't have to do anything to prevent polio from spreading. So this is a very exciting cause that will strengthen health systems and strengthen health systems, and it'll rejuvenate this entire field. Now, getting health workers into the high-risk areas will be a necessary part of this. For years, this has been a barrier. In tribal regions in Pakistan, some Taliban leaders declared that health workers could not enter. And people who worked for decades to end polio didn't know what to do about this. And it didn't look like there was a way to change their mind. But recently, there's an example of a breakthrough. His Highness Sheikh Mohammed bin Zayed, with deep friendships in the region, sent a group of doctors from this country and from other parts of Pakistan. And because of their long-term relationships, he was able to negotiate entry into those crucial areas. They vaccinated 20,000 children against polio and measles. And so they saved lots of lives, and they advanced polio eradication. So it's a mark of what can happen with the right kind of partnerships, with the right kind of role this region can play in helping the lives of the poor. The leaders and citizens here can reach out as partners to countries where they have special access and special kinship, areas where the rest of the world doesn't have the standing to intervene in the way that leaders here can. In another example last year, our foundation established a partnership with His Highness to deliver vaccines in Pakistan and Afghanistan. And again, the coverage levels were quite low. We needed credibility, and the joint partnership provided that. Now that partnership, I believe, was key to inspiring others. With His Highness behind these things, we've had a number of people join the campaign. Just yesterday, our foundation announced a new partnership with the Islamic Development Bank. And this partnership will provide significant financing for agriculture and malaria, as well as for the polio efforts I've been talking about. So our foundation is honored to be a partner in all of these fights with the Islamic Development Bank. Last year, I met a family here in the Gulf that was also interested in having high impact with their giving. And this is a wealthy family, but quite modest. They didn't want to talk about their generosity, but then they looked in and saw that in Islam, it's permitted to talk about your charity if it will inspire others to give. And so this family decided that they were willing to talk about what they were doing and why they had picked that particular cause. So during Ramadan, they brought their friends together and created a whole group that's funding a meningitis A vaccine for delivery in Africa. And they've raised significant funds, and literally over 1 million children will get this meningitis vaccine because of their work. There's other examples. Khalifa Foundation is funding nutrition. Dubai Care is supporting education. President Khalifa's commitment to the eradication of guinea worm in honor of his father, who was one of the earliest supporters of this eradication campaign, is making a difference there. So this region's prosperity and generosity are making you an important player in the world's humanitarian efforts, and in a way that's quite different from any other region. I think over time, this role will become even more important for a number of reasons. The first is that people are really starting to be strategic about their philanthropy. I mean, it's one thing to be charitable, but it's perhaps even better to think about the long-term impact of how you empower people for the future. We've all made mistakes with our giving. We all get to learn and see where we might have done better. But as we've learned, there are now some clear models. For example, in health, if you get it right, it makes a permanent difference. In agriculture, helping farmers with small plots of land. In education, if you get the teachers coming and teaching in the right way. Those things are the key springboards for all development. And they're the things that allow countries to step up and become self-sufficient. I think now, everywhere in the world, people are realizing that a lot of giving has not been that impactful, and they want to be strategic. They want to bring the same type of values that you have in the private sector, where you can measure the impact, where you know what worked and what didn't, and you can know that it's a sustainable impact, not something that you're going to have to do again and again. And so this is the movement towards strategic giving. This is something that the world is all learning about together because it can be done far better than in the past. Second, there's the idea of using technology. Technology, of course, is what I worked on most of my life. And so it's very interesting to think about where does it play here? What are the innovations for the poorest? Some of them are in sciences other than information technology. Inventing that new seed that's twice as productive. Inventing that new vaccine. It's also using the mobile phone to stay in touch with people. Using the mobile phone to find out if you're getting good coverage. A lot of this goes back to the revolution in digital technology that's now even finding its way out into the hands of the poor. The UAE is making massive new investments in technology and education. Khalifa University is producing nuclear and biomedical engineers trained here. Abu Dhabi is driving the Masdar initiative, which is gathering a lot of the innovators, startup companies that are doing the breakthrough work in renewable energy. And as you continue this focus on advanced technology, I want to exhort you to do something that in the West was largely neglected, and that is to keep in mind not just the needs of those who are well off and can easily afford the first generation of the technology, but keep in mind over time how by making it deployable in tough conditions, by making it low cost, it can also be a benefit for the poorest. And so as you are developing into a world hub for research, I hope you're constantly looking for ways to make inventions for even those most in need. Humanity's great advances are not just in its discoveries, but in how those discoveries are applied to improve the lives of everyone. There's one other factor that's important to mention here that I think is going to contribute to a strategic role in humanitarian work, and that's the media. Of course, the media is going through a lot of change. Digital technology is redefining how we think about connecting up with each other. And this region, and this summit is a great example of this, is home to significant innovators in this field. This focused type of media innovation can be applied to let people know about what's going on in the poorest countries. It can be employed to find people who really care about an issue and connect them together. It can be employed so that if people are generous in giving to places far away, they can see, did it have an impact? Did that work? How should they feel about that? We've not fully tapped this new digital media for the force of good. In fact, the word media might not be even the right word to capture the dynamic role that can be played. The media is a voice. The media can create communities and environments where people can interact and learn from each other. And in playing its appropriate role, the media can become a stronger, more effective conscience for the world. And I hope this is a role that you see for yourselves. The great cultural tradition of charity in Islam already makes this region a natural leader in helping with the problems of the poor. Your rising prosperity and technological skills give you the power to advance the humanitarian agenda. Your innovative new media gives you a chance to raise the voice of the poor and change the world for everyone. So in many ways, you have phenomenal opportunity. Skeptics can say that nothing will change, that poverty has always been with us. But I'm optimistic because the new tools and technologies have not always been with us. And this, combined with all of our commitment, is why the future will be better than the past. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Gates. We will now open the floor to the audience's questions. If you do have any questions, please raise your hand. We have a couple of roaming mics going around. Yes, the gentleman over there.
Hi, Mr. Gates. My name is Andreas Wiseman. I work at Screen International. Thank you for your quite inspirational speech today. As part of the media and a magazine that writes about filmed entertainment, my question is actually about the role software development companies, such as the one you founded, what role they can play in filmed entertainment. Because obviously the platforms like Netflix and YouTube and games companies are getting more involved in filmed entertainment. So I wonder what role Microsoft, for example, could play in the production of filmed entertainment. And I know that Microsoft has now developed a wing, a branch, to look at production of TV and films. Maybe you could say something about that.
Yeah, I think in terms of film as we think about it today, a software company like Microsoft is mainly an enabler, making sure that great internet-connected devices are out there so people can consume films, making it easy for people to pay for films, hopefully as they watch them. But for the traditional film, where you're just watching it straight through, I don't think Microsoft itself brings enough to really get involved in that in a deep way. So we're more of a platform for creation and distribution. As you think about interactive media, whether it's games or in the future maybe navigating through a rich set of data, or even just sort of finding the news program, the news segments that you're interested in, on that boundary between the very interactive media and traditional media, there's a need for partnership between the creative people who come from the media world and the people who come from the technology world. You know, will TV, when I watch news, will it be the same for everyone, or will it skip the sports I don't care about? Will it give me the weather in the different locations that I'm interested in? You know, I don't believe that media consumption will be as uniform for everyone as it is right now. And of course, we're seeing on tablet devices lots of nice software that picks for you the things that you might be interested in, both in textual format and video format. So in terms of that cutting edge stuff, and once you get into the most interactive stuff, interactive games, there's where you get up to a Halo or something that has a stronger software component. Microsoft will be both a tool vendor and a significant creator of that deeply software connected type media.
We have time for 2 more questions, I believe. Yes, the gentleman there.
Bill, my name is Fahad Khan. I'm the founder and CEO of One Public. I'm an immigrant American born and raised in Lahore, Pakistan. My question is 2-part, and I always wanted to ask this question to you. One is that you have been one of the most impactful persons in the history. And another counterpart of yours, Steve Jobs, has been equally phenomenal, but 2 times because he came back. So my first part of my question is that Microsoft really stands at the crossroad of changing the world once again. Would you consider coming back to Microsoft and kind of taking the lead and kind of reinventing the next generation of technological revolution? If not, then the second part of the question is, I was reading the Harvard Business Review article about leadership, and it says that the unfiltered leaders are the leaders who actually are the most impactful leaders in the world. So if you don't want to come back to Microsoft, would you consider running for president of the United States?
Great. Well, you're certainly right that Steve Jobs did a phenomenal piece of work. You know, Apple, most people would have expected they were on the way of going out of business. And he, actually hadn't run Apple since it was a tiny company, but came back in and actually not only righted the ship, but made them incredibly valuable. So it's a phenomenal business story. And I thought Walter Isaacson did a good job capturing that in the book. Steve and I were friends, we were competitors, we were a lot of different things, but it was amazing what he did. I'm now committed full-time to my foundation work, and I give about 15% of my time as a chairman of Microsoft. I give them lots of hints and things. They're moving ahead with this Windows 8, which actually combines the best of the tablet and the PC, and actually this month, the very first hardware based on that idea, including Microsoft's own Surface, will ship. And so there's a lot of exciting stuff ahead in software. I didn't retire from Microsoft because I thought things were getting boring. In fact, a lot of the best ideas of vision and artificial intelligence and robots, those are still ahead. But I did decide that the philanthropic world was where my contribution would be more unique. And so, that's what I'll work on full-time the rest of my life. I actually think, maybe I'm wrong, that I can have as much impact in that role as I could in any political role. in any case, I wouldn't ever choose to run for political office. My role in the foundation, I don't have to raise political campaigns. I don't have to try and get elected. I'm not term limited to 8 years. It's a very nice office that I've got right now, and working with my wife and incredible people at the foundation. So I'll give advice to the president just like I do to Microsoft.
We will take one final question, and if we can also keep it short, over here, please.
Hello, Mr. Gates. My name is Jamal Khashoggi. I'm in charge. I'm the head of Al Arab News Channel, a new news channel in the Arab world. I'm here seeking a free advice. We are setting up the channel right now. How much money should we put percentage-wise on the television format itself, and how much we should devote to the new medias? Because you know the transformation.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, it's a super interesting question right now because, still by far the broadest footprint is broadcast TV, whether it's cable or satellite. People sit down, they turn on their TV, they passively watch it. The TV is very inexpensive, fairly easy to use. Whereas the internet now is much more sophisticated, but you can choose what you want. It's very flexible. Internet connections per month still cost a fair bit of money, so we need to bring that down in price. We need to bring the devices down in price. That actually is the easiest part of it. And so over time, whether it's through the phone, the tablet, the PC, the intelligent whiteboard, even the TV set will become an internet-connected device. Over time, the value is going to shift to the interactive format. Now, I would have said that 10 years ago, and it doesn't mean that 10 years ago somebody should have invested all their money in the internet side of things. Many fortunes have been made and lost in broadcast TV during that time frame. So I think it's a little too early to put all your money on the interactive side. Unless you're just trying to go after the high-end audience, that is too limiting. And so you really have to play in both worlds. And there are ways to create your media elements so that they can be used in broadcast, but then also repackaged up in a fairly interactive format. The experimentation of what that means for news or game shows or sports, watching the Olympics, watching the elections, those ideas are just being invented right now. And it's sort of taking what the games world has learned and the broadcast world has learned and bringing those things together. And so I think, if I were you, I'd put like 70% into broadcast and 30% into the new media, but expect over the next decade to see that ratio flip to be the other way around.
Mr. Gates, thank you very much for your time. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Yes, sir. It truly is a great honor to hear from someone who has been so instrumental in the digital revolution that we're all discussing here this evening, and for being with us as part of your global effort to take more of the world along the road that lies ahead. نشكر السيد جيتس إنه لشرف عظيم أن نسمع إلى شخص لعب دورا أساسيا في الثروة الرقمية التي نجتمع عن الحديث إليها اليوم، وعلى جهوده معنا كجزء من جهود العالمية لجعل العالم مكانا أفضل.